at my sister's wedding reception. They gave my name, but the staff looked confused. Sorry, you're not on the list. Shocked, I turned to my mother. She smirked. Did you really think you were invited? Strangers don't belong here. I smiled gently. Then I'll act like one. I walked away. Yet during the ceremony, my mother's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Imagine the raw sting of it. Dressed for my own sister's wedding, my heart a fragile vessel brimming with hope, only to be turned away at the threshold. Not on the guest list. Can you truly fathom that kind of rejection? Now, picture that chilling exclusion orchestrated by the very woman who gave you life, your own mother. That, dear friend, is merely the preface to my story. And trust me, it spirals into something far more incredible. My name is Mary. I'm a nurse, tethered to long, demanding shifts at a general hospital nestled in the heart of Chicago. After 12 grueling hours, my tired body usually yearns for the modest sanctuary of my small apartment. The first sight that greets me as I turn the key is a small shelf holding my dad's photograph. He slipped away 5 years ago, a victim of lung cancer. Each time I gaze upon that warm, gentle smile, a familiar ache tightens my chest. I'm home, Papa. I'll whisper a ritual. There's never a reply, of course, but I always feel his eyes, gentle and knowing, watching over me. During his illness, I willingly pressed pause on my career, dedicating myself to his full-time care. My nursing knowledge was invaluable, certainly, but the most profound lesson he imparted was simpler, yet infinitely more vital. Value your own life more. He spoke those words just before he left us. Looking back, I realize he knew me better than anyone. Dinner was typically microwave leftovers, a simple, solitary meal. And as I ate, a familiar pang of guilt would inevitably surface. I hadn't answered my mother's call again today. My mom, Eleanor, has transformed since Dad's passing. She's grown incredibly harsh, especially where I'm concerned. Yet, with my sister, Caitlin, her indulgence knows no bounds. This blatant favoritism isn't a recent development. It's been a constant since childhood. But when Dad was alive, his presence offered a balance, a buffer. Now it's completely gone. Mary, why do you wear such cheap clothes? Surely a nurse's salary could afford something better. Or, Mary, you're becoming just like your father, stubborn and self-centered. Learn from Caitlin. At least she's thinking about her future. Her words always come with thorns. No matter my efforts, in her eyes, I am perpetually insufficient, eternally wrong. There were times her words would slice me to tears, but now, I'm accustomed to it. That's simply the nature of our relationship. I'd often check the mail on my table, bills, advertisements, always harboring a quiet hope for a letter from Caitlin. But lately, her communication had dwindled to almost nothing. Caitlin, my brilliant sister, graduated from law school and now works at a prestigious firm downtown. Most of her college expenses, they came from Dad's insurance money, and honestly, a significant portion of my savings. I chose to prioritize her future over my own career. No regrets. I genuinely wanted Caitlin to build a wonderful life, and she was clearly making that happen. A few months ago, I heard she'd become engaged to Ryan Johnson, another lawyer at her firm. This news didn't come from her, of course, but through a phone call from Mom. Caitlin is engaged to Ryan. Isn't it wonderful? He's from a top university, a promising young lawyer. The first success story in our family. Mom's words. They carried an unspoken, cutting message. Not you. In her eyes, I was merely a nurse. Not a success story. Since the engagement news, I'd heard wedding preparations were well underway, but I hadn't received an invitation. At first, I rationalized it as a mail delay or some oversight. But as the days bled into weeks, a gnawing anxiety began to consume me. As family, I should be invited, right? I desperately wanted to believe that. Mary, she's busy. Wedding preparations are demanding. You know that. That was Mom's dismissive response when I finally mustered the courage to call and ask last week. I couldn't even reach Caitlin herself. Messages or calls from her had become frustratingly rare. I kept telling myself, she's just busy. I picked up my smartphone, scrolling to her last text. It was from 3 months ago. Thank you, Mary. I was really happy. Ryan also liked your present. Let's meet soon. Soon had never arrived. Strangely enough, I'd forged a genuinely strong relationship with Ryan's family, particularly his mother, Barbara. We'd met by chance through a mutual acquaintance and simply clicked. Barbara, a former nurse now working for a healthcare NPO, and I would chat for hours over tea. Mary, you're truly a thoughtful person, she'd remarked once. Caitlin always says she's proud of you. I remember feeling a surge of surprise then. Caitlin actually talked about me, and in a good way, too. It was profoundly reassuring. After dinner and a shower, I began preparing for tomorrow, a rare day off. No special plans, but I was looking forward to simply relaxing. Lying in bed, my thoughts drifted back to the wedding invitation. The wedding was next month already. Was there still time? Should I buy a dress? What would be a good present? What did Caitlin need? With these thoughts swirling, I drifted off to sleep. The morning of the wedding, I woke early. Soft sunlight streamed through my window, painting the room a pale, hopeful orange. Today was my sister Caitlin's special day. The invitation had never arrived, yet deep down, I clung to the belief that as family, I would, of course, be there. That's what I needed to believe. From my closet, I retrieved the pastel blue dress I'd bought last month specifically for this occasion. It was Dad's favorite color. It wasn't extravagant, but for someone living a modest life like mine, it felt like a small luxury. Standing before the mirror, I carefully arranged my hair in an updo, then fastened pearl earrings, a precious keepsake from my father, completing a simple yet elegant look. Asterisk, at least today, you look somewhat decent. Asterisk, my mother's voice, a ghost of criticism, echoed in my mind. Today, of all days, I wished to rebut her constant judgments. On the bed lay a gift for Caitlin, a handmade blanket I'd knitted over 2 months. White yarn, adorned with small blue flower patterns, a design symbolizing purity and happiness in married life. It was modeled after a legendary blanket Dad had given Mom when he proposed. Or so the story went, one of the few happy family memories I'd heard countless times from my mother. I hope Caitlin likes it, I whispered, carefully wrapping it, tying a satin ribbon. On the card, I wrote simply, wishing you eternal happiness. Sometimes, fewer words resonate more deeply. I called a taxi and headed toward the opulent downtown hotel. The Chicago cityscape bustled with its usual routine, but my heart was a tangled mess of emotions. Joy, expectation, anxiety. I yearned to celebrate my sister, but that persistent question echoed relentlessly. Why no invitation? Windsor Hotel, the taxi driver announced. Thank you, I said, paying him, and took a deep, fortifying breath. Stepping into the lobby, I was met by luxurious marble floors, massive chandeliers, and elaborate floral arrangements. Just as Mom had often boasted, Caitlin had chosen the finest venue. The wedding reception desk was positioned at the entrance to a grand hall. A young staff member greeted me with a warm, professional smile. Good morning. May I have a name on your invitation? Try to sound natural despite my churning stomach, I stated, Mary Wilson. She scanned the list, then carefully traced it with her finger, double-checking. I watched her expression cloud over. I'm sorry, but she hesitated, choosing her words. Your name isn't on the list. For a moment, my mind refused to process it. This must be a mistake, a misunderstanding, an oversight. Could you please check again? I asked, my voice tight. Mary Wilson. I'm the bride's sister. The staff checked again, even quietly consulting with a colleague. Her troubled expression confirmed it wasn't a simple error. I'm very sorry, Miss Wilson. Your name isn't here. A tightening sensation gripped my chest. Was this truly an oversight, or something far more deliberate? A possibility I desperately didn't want to consider. There must be some mistake, I insisted. Is my mother, Eleanor Wilson, inside? The staff nodded apologetically. Yes, Mrs. Wilson is already in the venue. Still clutching the gift, I was granted permission to enter. Many guests had already gathered in the elaborately decorated hall. Among the sea of unfamiliar faces, I spotted my mother, laughing, champagne glass in hand, chatting happily. My heartbeat quickened. I slowly approached her. When she noticed me, she froze, her smile momentarily slipping, but she quickly recomposed herself, ending her conversation with the people around her. They told me at reception that my name isn't on the list, I said quietly, my voice barely a whisper. Is there some mistake? Eleanor looked me up and down, as if appraising my modest dress. Then she offered a cold smile. The familiar contempt flickered in her eyes. There's no mistake. Her voice was low, controlled, ensuring no one nearby could overhear. Did you honestly think you were invited? Outsiders aren't allowed. Her words cut deeper than I expected. I thought I was mentally prepared, but emotionally, I was shattered. Even if our relationship had cooled, I never imagined being excluded from such an important family day. But what about Caitlin? I choked out. Doesn't she want me here either? My words trembled. Caitlin is about to begin a happy married life, Eleanor sneered. She doesn't need reminders of failures like you. Her words stung like poison needles. But at that moment, I caught sight of a familiar figure in the corner. Barbara Johnson, Ryan's mother. She seemed to have overheard our conversation, her face etched with surprise. I took a deep breath, fighting back tears. I couldn't let them show. I wouldn't show weakness in front of my mother. I see. I understand. My voice was quiet but resolute. Then I'll live my life as an outsider, too. With that, I placed the carefully wrapped gift on a nearby table. This is for Caitlin. Would you give it to her? That is, if it's not too much of a burden for you. As I turned to leave, Barbara gently grabbed my arm. Mary, wait. What's happening? Caitlin said she wanted you to come. She was talking about you just last week. I was utterly confused. Barbara's words, Eleanor's cutting attitude. Between these two wildly incompatible stories, I couldn't discern the truth. Barbara, this is a family matter. Please don't interfere. Eleanor's tone was sharp. Barbara, it's all right. I interrupted her. Today is my sister's important day. I don't want to cause any problems. Barbara looked like she wanted to say more, but I gave her a small, gentle smile, squeezed her hand, and simply said, "Thank you," before walking away. Stepping outside, the sky was clear, but my heart felt like a storm. I hailed a taxi, my voice thick. I want to go home. The driver, seeing me fighting back tears in the back seat, kindly started driving without asking any questions. Meanwhile, back inside the hotel, the wedding preparations were in their final stages. Music played softly. Guests were taking their seats. As the announcement signaling the start of the ceremony echoed, Eleanor's smartphone began to ring. She tried to ignore it, but the phone wouldn't stop. Apologetically, she stepped outside the venue. She heard Caitlin's excited voice. "Where's Mary?" I said I wanted to see her before the ceremony. Eleanor was momentarily at a loss. She didn't come. She lied, her own voice sounding hollow. "What?" Caitlin exclaimed. "But Barbara says she saw Mary. She was at the venue." At that moment, Eleanor saw Barbara talking to Caitlin, her expression severe, apparently telling her the truth. When Eleanor returned, the ceremony had already begun. Caitlin, stunning in her wedding gown, was making her entrance. But there was a noticeable hesitation in her expression. As the priest's words progressed, Caitlin suddenly looked around, then stood up. "Where's Mary?" At Caitlin's question, the venue fell silent. Her voice held a mix of anxiety and confusion. Though beautiful in her pure white dress, her distress was palpable. The groom, Ryan, stood looking confused. "Kate, what's wrong? Let's continue the ceremony." "Wait, Ryan." Caitlin shook her head. "Mary's not here. My sister isn't here." A small murmur spread among the guests. The priest looked around nervously, unsure how to respond. Then Barbara stood up, stepping forward. Her expression was stern, as if about to announce something serious. "Caitlin, Mary was here, but..." She chose her words carefully, glancing briefly at Eleanor. "She left." "What? What do you mean?" Caitlin's voice trembled. Barbara took a deep breath and quietly continued. "Mary was told her name wasn't on the guest list and wasn't allowed into the venue." The color drained from Caitlin's face. She turned pale to Eleanor. "Mom, what does this mean?" "Mary is my sister. Why did you remove her name from the invitation list?" Eleanor, conscious of all eyes on her, looked deeply uncomfortable. She shrank, shrugging her shoulders. Caitlin, this is your special day. If Mary came, she would try to steal the attention, as always. I just wanted to prevent her from stealing the spotlight on your big day. She always needs to be the center of attention. Anger flashed in Caitlin's eyes. That's not true. Mary has never been jealous of me or tried to steal attention. She's always supported me. Eleanor scoffed. You just don't know her true nature. I was only trying to protect you. The murmuring in the venue grew louder. Ryan looked at his parents bewildered. Robert Johnson, Ryan's father, a tall, dignified senior partner at a law firm, stood up. What is the meaning of this? His voice was low but powerful. We thought today was a blessed day when two families would become one. But what's happening before our eyes is... He cut himself off, staring intently at Eleanor. I don't want to be associated with people who exclude their own family. The venue froze in tension. Caitlin covered her face, her shoulders shaking. The train of her wedding dress spread across the floor, making her look both beautiful and heartbreakingly sad. Ryan rushed to her side, embracing her. It's okay. I'm here for you, he whispered gently, taking her trembling hand. I'm going to call Mary. Caitlin pulled out her smartphone through tears, dialing my number. It rang and rang, but there was no answer. She's not answering, she muttered, desperate. Ryan squeezed her hand. She's hurt. She needs time. Caitlin tried once more. Still no answer. She let out a deep sigh, then raised her tear-soaked face to the gathered guests. Everyone, I'm truly sorry that things have turned out this way today. Her voice was shaking, but gradually gained strength. Actually, there's something I hadn't realized until now. She looked at Eleanor for a moment, then continued. Mom has been keeping Mary away for months. She wanted me to think all my success was my own achievement. But I wouldn't be here today without Mary. Holding Ryan's hand, Caitlin began to reflect on her past. I was able to go to law school because Mary helped with the tuition. She sacrificed her own career to care for Dad and support my dreams. When I went to my first job interview, she bought me a suit and practiced with me repeatedly. Many guests showed sympathetic expressions. Eleanor blushed, her gaze fixed on the floor. In this dress I'm wearing today, Caitlin slightly lifted the hem of her gown. I wanted to consult with Mary when choosing it, but Mom said Mary is busy. Her voice broke off, fresh tears streaming down her cheeks. Barbara approached Caitlin, gently placing a hand on her shoulder. Mary is truly a wonderful person, Barbara said softly. She's always talking about how much she loves you. Every time we meet, she asks, how's Caitlin? Are her wedding preparations going well? At those words, Caitlin's composure crumbled further. I'm the worst sister, taking everything Mary did for me for granted. Ryan stepped forward as if having made a decision. Everyone, I apologize, but we're postponing today's ceremony. Various reactions spread through the venue. Sounds of surprise, nods of understanding, small sighs. We believe a true wedding can only happen when the entire family is together, Ryan said with resolution. Without Mary, Caitlin's sister, this ceremony is incomplete. Caitlin looked at Ryan with profound gratitude, squeezing his hand tightly. Thank you, she whispered softly. Ryan's father, Robert, stepped forward, politely apologizing to the guests. Ladies and gentlemen, despite many of you traveling from afar, we have come to this conclusion. Please understand our decision. Then he turned to Eleanor with a stern expression. I cannot trust someone who doesn't value family. How could you do something so despicable? Eleanor was at a loss for words, standing motionless, her face pale, her hands trembling. It was the moment when the false image she had built over the years crumbled in an instant. Caitlin lifted the hem of her wedding dress with one hand, clutching her smartphone with the other. I need to find Mary. I need to apologize to her. Ryan nodded, placing his jacket over Caitlin's shoulders. Let's go together. The two began walking toward the venue doors. On the way, Caitlin stopped, turned back, and looked at Eleanor. Mom, I can't easily forgive what happened today, but you are my mother. I hope there will be a day when we can reconcile. Eleanor couldn't say anything, just crying silently. Caitlin and Ryan held hands and left. Behind them, Robert and Barbara were handling the guests. Barbara called out to Caitlin, "When you find Mary, tell her we send our love, too." After they left, a beautiful sunset spread across the sky. Caitlin took a deep breath. "I know where Mary is," she said, pulling Ryan toward the car. My apartment was on the third floor of an old building in North Chicago. It was where I'd lived with Dad, and I stayed after he died, cherishing the memories. From my window, I could see a small park, its seasonal views my only comfort. Having returned from the wedding, I sat on the sofa by the window, still in my formal dress. My phone kept ringing, but I ignored it. I just stared outside. In the park, children were playing, parents watching with smiles, a scene that radiated warmth. "Family," I whispered softly. Something felt utterly broken inside me. The tears had dried up, leaving only emptiness. I'll live as an outsider, I thought. I stood up and headed to the closet to take off the dress. I'd probably never wear it again. Around 7 p.m., a sudden knock sounded at the door. I didn't respond, hoping whoever was would leave, but the knocking continued and eventually voices. "Mary, open up, please." It was Caitlin's voice. I didn't move. "Mary, we're here. Let's talk to you." This time, it was Barbara's voice. "Barbara is here, too." I was confused. "Mary, I understand how you feel, but could you please open the door?" A male voice, probably Ryan. I hesitantly walked to the door. Looking through the peephole, I saw Caitlin, Ryan, Barbara, and Robert. Caitlin was still in her wedding dress, her eyes red and swollen. Taking a deep breath, I slowly opened the door. "Mary!" Caitlin rushed in, clinging to me. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Her voice was thick with tears, her body trembling. I was surprisingly calm. "Caitlin, what about your wedding? Why are you here?" Ryan stepped forward, quietly explaining. "We postponed the ceremony. We felt the wedding without you would be meaningless." I was speechless. Ryan's parents stood there smiling gently. Barbara softly said, "May we come in?" I nodded silently, leading them into my small living room. It was tiny, but I made a warm space. Photographs of Dad adorned the walls. Medical books and novels lined the bookshelf. Caitlin, still crying, took my hands. "I had no idea you were removed from the list. Please believe me. We learned the truth at the venue." Robert continued, his voice calm, but with remnants of anger. "Your mother." "Mom removed my name," I said, my voice flat. "I'm not surprised." "But why?" Caitlin asked, confused. "Why would she do such a thing?" I sat on the sofa, shrugging wearily. "Mom has always loved you more than me. I was just a nuisance." "That's not true." Caitlin raised her voice. "And there's something even worse." With trembling hands, she pulled out her smartphone, searching. "Barbara told me. Mom has been lying to me about you for years." "Lying?" I echoed. "Look at this." Caitlin handed me her phone. The screen displayed old text messages. Messages from Eleanor to Caitlin from 2 years ago. Asterisk Mary says she can't come to your graduation. She's too busy. "Don't worry, we'll celebrate just us." Asterisk my eyes widened. "That's a lie. I applied for time off work that day, but Mom said you didn't want me to come." Caitlin showed me another message. Asterisk birthday present from Mary. Nothing has arrived from her. "Don't worry. She's always too busy with her own life." Asterisk, I sent presents every year. My voice trembled. "I asked Mom to give them to you." Mom has been lying to Caitlin for years, making her believe Mary was neglecting the family, Barbara quietly explained. She also had letters and gifts from Mary, deliberately destroying the sisters' relationship. Why didn't I notice? Caitlin blamed herself. I should have questioned what Mom was saying. "I remember all you did for me." She took both my hands, looking at me with serious eyes. Law school tuition, the suit for my first job interview, nursing Dad during his illness. It was all thanks to you. And yet tears welled up in my eyes. I never felt such complex emotions. Anger, sadness, relief, and love all mixed together. But why? Why would Mom go so far? I asked in a small voice. Ryan quietly said, "I think Eleanor wanted to take all the credit for Caitlin's success. Mary's existence threatened that narrative." "Mom was crying when we left the venue," Caitlin said. "But honestly, I don't feel I can forgive her yet." Silence filled the room. I stared out the window, lost in thought for a long time. Then, slowly raising my face, I looked at my sister. You are my sister. That will never change. My voice was soft but strong. What Mom did, it may take time to forgive, but it's not your fault. Caitlin's face showed profound relief. She embraced me again, and we held each other for a long time, as if reclaiming the bond that had been lost for years. Ryan gently approached us. Mary, we want you at our wedding. The postponed one. Of course, I'd be delighted. I smiled my first genuine smile all day. Barbara placed a hand on my shoulder. You're already part of our family, she said kindly. We won't let anyone keep you away anymore. Robert nodded. In our house, family is treasured. That's what matters most. That night, we talked until late, filling in the chasms created over years. We reminisced about the past. I spoke of memories with Dad, Caitlin's childhood adventures, the good times. Remember that summer when Dad took us to the lake? I asked nostalgically. Of course. Caitlin laughed. When I almost drowned, and you jumped in to save me. Dad called you our family hero after that. As the night grew late, Barbara and Robert decided to leave. We'll come again tomorrow, Barbara promised, giving me a tight hug. Caitlin and Ryan stood up too, but I stopped them. Why don't you stay here tonight? I'll pull out the sofa bed. The following Saturday, Caitlin and Ryan's wedding was held in a small garden. Only close friends and family were invited this time, and I stood proudly beside my sister as the maid of honor. An invitation was also sent to Eleanor. At first, I hesitated, but I decided she is our mother. We shouldn't cut her off completely. That kindness is your most wonderful quality, Barbara had said the day before. Eleanor visited my apartment that day. She looked older, with deep fatigue etched beneath her eyes. Mary, Eleanor struggled with words. Come in, I said quietly, leading her to the living room. I've come to apologize. Eleanor's voice was small and trembling. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted to tell you. I knew Ryan's parents had persuaded Eleanor, fearing she might not be able to attend her son's wedding either. Still, it was the first time my mother had ever uttered words of apology to me. It will take time, I said honestly. Honestly, I've been hurt by your words for a long time. I took a deep breath. But perhaps we can restore our relationship step by step. A small light of hope flickered on Eleanor's face. Tomorrow, there's a Christmas dinner at Caitlin and Ryan's home. Will you come? You are inviting me? Eleanor looked surprised. Because we're family, I answered simply. Besides, Caitlin seems to have special news. The next day, Christmas Eve, Caitlin and Ryan's home was filled with warm light and laughter. Barbara and Robert had also come, helping Caitlin with final preparations in the kitchen. When I arrived, my sister came rushing out to greet me. Mary, you came. Of course, I laughed. Oh, and Mama's coming too. Caitlin was a bit surprised, but quickly smiled. Really? That's wonderful. Ryan set one more place. A few minutes later, Eleanor appeared, holding small gifts. She greeted everyone with a nervous expression, looking particularly humble toward Barbara and Robert. Barbara smiled and offered Eleanor a warm cup of cinnamon tea. We all make mistakes. What matters is the courage to acknowledge them and try to change. Before dinner, Caitlin and Ryan gathered everyone for a special announcement. Everyone, we have wonderful news. Ryan said proudly, Caitlin is pregnant. In 5 months, we'll become parents. Amid the congratulations echoing around the room, Caitlin took my hand. Mary, I want you to be the godmother. Having someone with your kindness and strength beside this child. I nodded, tears in my eyes. I'd be honored. I'll love this child with all my heart. Eleanor sat quietly, but tears also glistened in her eyes. And Mom, Caitlin continued, I want you involved in this child's life as a grandmother. The past is the past. What matters is what comes next. After dinner, I found myself alone by the window, watching the snow fall. Eleanor quietly approached me. What a lovely family, she murmured. It's thanks to you, Mary. Your kindness and thoughtfulness became the power that reconnected us. I smiled. It's thanks to all of us. Family doesn't work with just one person. Ultimately, my patience and the love taught by my father had broken the chain of hatred and ushered in a new beginning. The power of forgiveness, it truly is immeasurable. Eleanor, after a long journey, had begun to understand the pain her actions had caused. She's now making daily efforts to become a true mother. It's not easy, but it's her own path of atonement to restore our family bonds. That night, when we all took a commemorative photo, I spoke to my father in my heart. Asterisk, can you see, Papa? We become a family again. In a different way, but definitely a family. Asterisk, outside the window, snow continued to fall gently. The wounds of the past weren't completely healed, but new light of hope quietly shone upon this reborn family. One incredible journey, right? It was a tough one, full of heartache, but it led to something truly beautiful. I wonder, have you ever experienced a betrayal like this within your own family? And how did you navigate it? I'd truly love to hear your thoughts in the comments below.